We got a little rain last night, so we're getting a little late start to the day. We sent Dad off into town to get some muriatic acid, so that way we can lower the pH of our spray solution. And I tell you what, if you want to get some funny looks, get 75 gallons of this stuff, and then don't tell them what you're going to use it for.
When they'd ask, what are you doing with this? I don't know. And they would look at you really strange, like, you mean you don't know? Like, nope, I was sitting in here to get it.
Has anyone ever wondered how easy it is for a farmer to lose $24,000 in 2022? Well, I'm going to show you how one weed, this little guy in particular, just cost us $24,000. You better enjoy your gift, little buddy. Okay, let's go get to work. Slight change of plans. We were going to keep spraying corn, but the rest of our corn is not ready yet. But our soybeans are. So now we're gonna pull the Y drops off. We're gonna change all the tips out to the soybean tips, and then we're gonna spray the soybeans.
Do any of you remember from years ago? Oh, might not even have to fake it. Ugh.
He wasn't faking it.
What year the old Bronco was? 86 or something? Not too long ago, somebody was trying to sell that. I seen it on YouTube there on the pawn shop. Probably should have paid them the extra $1.50 to have them ready for us.
Is that what they were?
I don't know. Here we go.
Changing out the tips is pretty simple. We're gonna be taking the red one off. The bottom one is the one that squirts. So you just turn it 90 degrees, pops right off, put the new one on, turn it 90 degrees, and you go to the next one. And then the next one, and the next one. There's one every 15 inches for 90 feet. The stuff we're gonna be putting on the soybeans is gonna have a different pH than the stuff that we put on the corn. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna load everything up on the semi-trailer now that goes on the soybeans. We just have to change out one of the bulk totes. But then we're just gonna do a small batch. We're gonna make like a 100-gallon batch. And then we're gonna test the pH on that. So that way we'll know if we need to add the muriatic acid to these big tanks or not. So we'll get these things switched out, we'll pull the semi forward, we'll fill the sprayer, test it, and then if we need to put muriatic acid in, then we'll back it back up, dump everything in, and the tanks will be like half full. And then when we put the new water in with it, then it'll stir everything up nicely inside of there, and then we'll get an even blend. Because we don't want all that muriatic acid to go to the bottom, and then we'd have our first load out be super acidic, and then the rest wouldn't. Stuff we're putting on in these totes, some of it's alive, and if it's too high of a pH, like let's say 8, it can really affect what's called the half-life of the product. So the half-life is after a certain amount of time, then the life of what's in said container is cut in half. So like some of these products, if you have a pH of 8, its half-life could be 9 minutes. So basically, that thing is dead, or its life is cut in half every 9 minutes. So if it's 100% life, after 9 minutes, now it's 50% life. After 9 more minutes, now it's 25% life. After 9 more minutes, 12.5% life. After 9 more minutes, 5.85% life, or whatever the numbers are. Well, on the other hand, if we have something, let's say, around 4 or 5, the half-life of it might be 48 hours, or 96 hours. So it makes a big difference.
Man, if you're by yourself. Oh, yeah.
That's that stinky one.
Oh.
Hey, Mr. Wasp. First up on the list, we're just gonna test the water.
That might be 8.4.
7.474345.
That cannot be used for a thermometer.
Actually, it can. Hmm. 435. I apologize, we don't get a lot of spraying content, and that's because it is really difficult to film and spray at the same time. I have to be steering because auto steer doesn't work between the rows, so I'm trying to keep that thing right between a row, and the sprayer is constantly swaying around, and while it's doing that, I need to make sure that the ends are not going in the ground. Like here, I'm even having a hard time doing it. I'm not even spraying and my boom's 6 feet off the ground. But then, you know, we're always looking for dips, because like this, we don't want to smack a boom on the end of the ground. But then I also have to control the height. We've got to make sure we got everything on and make sure stuff's coming up, make sure our monitor's working, make sure all of our tips are going. There's a lot to watch in the sprayer, and it's really fast paced. We're doing like 5 miles an hour right now, and it's hard, let alone 10. So that's why I don't film in the sprayer it's about impossible to do. And then the other thing is, everything we work with is sticky, and you don't really probably want it on your skin, like an insecticide or 32% nitrogen, and you don't want it on your camera because it ruins stuff. This year just so happens to be the year we've done more spraying than we've ever done, because we've been trying new stuff, which is a good thing, but it makes it not a very good thing for filming. So I apologize about that. We're getting close to being done spraying, and once we do other things, that stuff's easy to film. This is hard.
We got Jamie and I suppose Nate coming down this morning. We got a couple bean fields. I don't know what the scoop is, but we're noticing some weeds breaking out. No ifs, ands, boo about it. We're seeing some weeds popping through. So we got Jamie coming down, kind of scout some things out, see what our options are. We really hate spraying beans at this time of year when they're getting flowers and stuff. We'll have to see what the options are. We got one field, I'm just afraid if we don't mess with it, we're gonna be like, oh, morning! Nate says we got a busy day. He's gonna be the one weeding.
Walking beans.
Morning.
They still got you
They do.
bossing them around and stuff?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Cracking the whip.
Haven't got pit vipers yet.
I don't know.
We just pulled into our first field, and before the door was open, I heard Jamie go, wow. So that means there's some weed pressure here.
Got a lot of new growth out here and a lot of stuff that didn't.
Yeah, it's
wasn't
weird.
affected by the herbicide. You guys are running 15-gallon of water, correct?
It was 15 or 20. 15 for sure. And you know, like this one here, you can tell it did some damage to him.
Yep.
But to me, part of it's still like, hey, I'm trying to come back. We just pulled into another field. This field here, it seems like maybe 60 feet around the outer edges and around the drawaways. So we're gonna look to see what the weeds look like in the middle here a little bit. And I got shorts on, the beans are a little wet, and it feels slimy on the legs.
We definitely don't have the weed pressure here as bad. We
Right.
also have a lot more residue from the no-till.
And that helps smother it
It
out.
helps suppress the weed pressure, yeah.
Oh
Squeeze 'em.
yeah.
Squeeze
Oh yeah. Huh.
So he's dying, you know, that's just it. You know, it's a growth regulator, it's gonna knot it up. But then, these guys, they're not gonna die.
You just,
You know, Even though
yeah.
he snapped off, he's
Got a rut.
he's gonna grow. You know, right now, I would probably I'm assuming all your outsides probably need.
Yes, yes.
I feel as though you're not gonna want the weed pressure.
No,
That
that's
can
my
be as
thought.
limiting as well as whacking the yield.
Yes.
You know, are you gonna lose 3 bushel? I don't know. I can't say you're going to, I can't say you're not. All I know is all herbicides essentially are labeled to R3.
Spraying this late into the growing season is kind of a really frustrating thing, because right now the plant is getting ready to go into its reproductive stages, or it's at the beginning stages of its reproductive, meaning it's going to be starting to put pods on soon. So it's taking all of its energy, basically the whole plant that has been growing all year, the whole purpose of it is so that way it can put on as many pods as possible, bear as much fruit as it can. And when we spray it, it puts something onto the plant that could possibly disrupt that a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, it could just be a little bit. But now maybe the plant's figuring out, okay, how do I digest this or put it where it needs to go within the plant? So now we're taking away from building that fruit, setting that pod, putting on more soybeans on the plant, and we're using precious resources to move this stuff through the plant. We don't know what kind of impact this could have if the weather's right. I'm sure there are cases where it won't have any impact at all. We don't know. And that's where this application could be kind of scary, because let's say hypothetically we take 3 bushels off. That would basically be like 6 soybean kernels every square foot throughout the field. At the current market price where we could take in sell for October 1st of 2022. So for the crop we have sitting out in the field in October, the price is $13.45. If we lose 3 bushels, we're going to be losing $40.35 per acre because of this application. Then when we go ahead and throw our $18 per acre application for the product and running the sprayer and everything on there, now we're at like $58, $60 an acre that we're missing out on. So let's say $60 an acre, we're going to get enough product for 500 acres to put out just in case we find some more. After doing some further discovery, I think we're going to be around that 400 acres by the time we go around all of our outlines and stuff that we're going to have to respray. So 400 acres at $60 an acre, that's 24,000 bucks. That just because we have to spray this next application on, that is costing us through more product and also through lost yield opportunity. It could be more, it could be less, I don't know, but that's just kind of the implication of things we have to keep an eye on as farmers, and it just shows the severity of the situation. It seems like about everyone around here this year has been having some sort of trouble with the stuff they sprayed on their soybeans. I don't know if we've been having we have been having shortages throughout basically everything in farming, and especially when it's coming to the chemicals we spray on. So I don't know if maybe the chemical companies went to their tier 2, tier 3 ingredient list, and maybe they have a different preservative in those, or a different inert ingredient that maybe isn't as high quality as the normal stuff. So our efficacy, the effectiveness of what we're spraying is down, or maybe we had just the right weather at that time, or something that affected how well our products were getting into the weeds. Over time, weeds have developed more of a resistance to the stuff we're spraying on them, so they're not as effective as they were, say, 20 years ago. But it just seems like about everybody around here has been having some issue in some way, shape, or form in their soybean fields in particular. So it just kind of makes a guy wonder, but I really don't know. That's just kind of my best guess. So we're gonna put this application on. We're gonna have to bear this cost. We're gonna have some side-by-side areas. So we're gonna see if we do have a yield implication. That'll be really interesting. I hope we don't, but this could potentially be a $24,000 problem for the farm, which we could have taken that $24,000 and invested it into an overhead door in the big machine shed, which would be a lot nicer than spraying more chemicals. But what do you do? This is part of farming. This is something we're gonna fight this year, and I'm sure this is gonna happen to us again on multiple years. This, I would say, is definitely not a one-time thing, but we're just gonna have to keeping a better eye on this stuff. It's not like it used to be, where you just used to go out, spray it, forget it, it killed everything, you didn't have to worry about it. Now, as the weeds are evolving and everything's evolving out in the fields, I think we're just gonna have to continually do more and more scouting. Some of these weeds are getting a little taller than we'd like them to see. A water hemp plant, once it gets past 6 inches tall, it's pretty hard to kill. So this is just we're just gonna have to take a little more time too. Maybe get ahead of some of this stuff before they get bigger, and maybe we can get away with less rates or something, I don't know. But either way, $24,000 problem. It's not that exciting. It's not what we like to have, but it is what it is, and we're gonna get through it. Boogity, boogity, boogity! Here he is! There's all our weeds. Looking good.
Probably better shut the valves off that we don't need. Oh, it's always hard to go in a field to respray, but you can see some of the weeds are they're breaking out. If we don't respray it, a couple weeks, when everything starts closing in good and tight, then the weeds are going to shoot through for the sun. You got your outside booms on now too?
Yeah. There you go.